Dearbhlá is a youth worker in the Bosco in Uri, and we're delighted that you said you'd come up and chat today, so thank you very much. So, Joanne, why did you want Dearbhlá here as part of today's event to talk about her experience and her work?
Because the work that she does is absolutely so incredible and so unrecognised in so many different ways. There's corporate events happen across our community all the time, and there's speakers brought in, and there's people, and that's great, and it's lovely to hear from some of those speakers and voices. But there's really powerful grassroots work being done in our local community by people like Dearbhlá, and we talked about those early adapters to what I was doing, and Dearbhlá was one of those. So delighted to have Dearbhlá here.
And Dearbhlá, I would just like to start, before we get into the details of your work, just tell us about the Bosco. And I'm going to make you laugh now, because whenever I was looking up things about ahead of today, I stuck in Google Bosco Uri. I was like, right, okay, so is this a GAA club, or is this is a different club? But I was like, well, what is it? Now I got to the bottom of it and worked it out. But can you tell me about the Bosco and its work and how integral it is to the Uri community?
Yeah. The Bosco Youth Centre actually formed probably about 70 years ago, and it actually turns out that my mummy was one of the founder members of the Bosco Youth Centre, and it was in one of the local housing developments, a very, very small boxing club that girls weren't allowed into. The girls were only allowed in when it was the guest teas, and of course to come in to make the tea and coffee for the boys' boxing club. And there's actually photographs of my mummy at 5-year-old standing outside with the guest tea. So really by default, I become part of the Bosco whenever a friend of mine set up the Bosco Drama Group, which was musical theatre part of our group. I was studying music in university. Felt at the time it wasn't going the right way, and took a year out and became part of the Bosco, and sort of thought, there's something different here. So the Bosco has been very much part of Newry for over 70 years. We are in our current building 50 years, which you can 100% see because there's roofs falling apart and there's doors hanging off hinges. But we love it, and we love everything about it, and it sees at least 300 children come through its doors every week. We work with young people ages 7 to 25 years in multiple different ways, from one-to-one work. Musical theatre is a huge part of our work, the work that we do with Joanne. So it is very much part of Newry and who we are, and we have some of our fab staff here, we have a lot of volunteers as well, and we just love it.
It's striking me that it takes a certain type of person and personality to be invested in this work, to understand its value as well, and what it's all about giving back to your local community. You're getting as much out of it as well, though I'm sure with helping people. But the idea of investing in young people, it can't be underestimated. They're the voices of the future. They're our future. So how can you, through your work, to give them opportunities? And I think a big thing now is instilling confidence in youngsters and that sense of self-belief. Like, what are you seeing through your work? What are the challenges that you're facing in youngsters?
We work with our young people. We are open 5 nights a week, so we're a full-time youth centre. So we have seen many of our young people from they're literally 7 years of age. The current group that we're working with very closely at the minute, with an end in violence against women and girls, they've been with us now for almost 10 years. So we know everything about their lives. You can't dip in and out of young people's lives. You have to make a full relationship with them, to know their backgrounds. And the child that comes through the door and says, "Are you cooking tonight?" They haven't been fed, or the likes of the summer scheme where we feed them every day, because we know holiday hunger and we know the community that we're working in. The parents just need that wee bit of extra support, that they just need something, that we can provide lunch for them, and so that when they go home in the evening they're content. It's just knowing who you're working with and building those relationships, and just, even to see them, and the girls that back us up on this, to see the young people that we're now, who have developed through racism programmes, violence programmes, drama group programmes, they've been to Krakow, they've been to various parts of the world through us, and they're now strong people ready to take on adulthood. And it means a lot.
And the education programmes that you've spoken about, like, Joanne, really, really important messages there that need to start at a very young age, because instead of reacting to violence against women and girls, instead of reacting to racism, it all needs to be prevented, and that can be done if you invest in children at the right age.
Absolutely. And I myself have been with Bosco now for about 10 years, and so that progression, that change, and you can see the young people when they feel a sense of ownership, a sense of community, a sense of belonging, a sense of I matter, then all of the other problems dwindle, not always easily or effortlessly, with a lot of support and but that's really it, isn't it? As Dearbhlá said, it's investing in the long-term future and building a relationship.
They also feel safe. There's a safety that, because they know us so well. We have young people who've come through very, very traumatic times in their lives, and they can come in and we can be a sounding board, or we can say, he's really playing up tonight, come on, we'll have a chat. What's going on? If I think back to a particular young man who was he was really difficult, and you just knew, and the mummy would be on the phone and she'd be saying, he's such and such, and I'm seeing these lyrics and songs coming up, and Joanne and I worked very closely with this young man, and just to see him now out working with a lovely partner, and you just go, yeah,
you made a difference to that one here. I think
because you just were able to pick up on those cues, and the parents felt that they could lift the phone to myself or one of the girls and just say, we need a wee bit of support here.
And the thing is too, Dearbhlá, that all too often when a young person, a child, is acting up in that sort of way, the reaction too often can be they're trouble, and there's no hope, and sure, you lost cause, what's the point? But you're recognising there's a root of a problem here, and you're taking the time to go and get to that root and sort it out and treat them in a way.
In years gone by, you would have thrown them out of the club and you would have said, you're barred, don't come back for 3 weeks. But you were putting a child who was obviously struggling
with something
out onto the street to react on the street, where when you kept them and worked with them and catch your grip of yourself, what's going on?
And just as you said, Dearbhlá, I saw formal photographs just this week and was smiling to myself, because that could have been a very, very different story.
It was heading down to youth justice.
It probably was that close. So it is those interventions, and that's why grassroots community work is so worth investing in, because there are people from the local area, they know, they can read the situation, and support.
And even the integration as well. Like, we work a lot of young people with disabilities, and they come into our centre. So our young people have grown up with it. And even my daughter is 16 and has obviously been in the centre from I'm 27 years in the Bosco. So she's literally been in the Bosco all her life. And there was a friend of ours who were having a child who had a disability, and we were upset for it. She go, why are you getting on at that? I should go, what's wrong? Because she had grown up with it all her life, she was going, why are you so upset? This wee baby will be fine. I was going, you know what, that is fabulous. That is such a progressive view. We were back in our 40s thinking, this is the end of the world. Did you go, and what?
So then it's times like that where you're getting something right, and you're doing something right. And talk to me, I'm really interested about the musical theatre and how that filters through. Where I'm from at home, I think it's like battle at the theatres. There's maybe 5 or 6 within a 5-mile radius. It's unbelievable. But the youngsters are all down to be part of it. They want to be involved in it. It doesn't matter whether they can sing, dance, whatever they do. It's feeling part of something. Is that what you're? And again, it's back to what we were saying earlier on about using music as a way to express yourself, a way to get things out of you that you didn't even realise you could express yourself in that way.
Our drama group, Uri, like that, there's loads of drama groups in Uri. A lot of them take a lot of fees, you have to pay termly fees. Our community isn't ready for that, and they just don't always have the finances for that. We currently, right at this moment in time, there's 150 young people in the Bosco rehearsing for Beauty and the Beast, and we'll be saying, where's all the staff, because they're all here. Not currently in tracksuits like we usually are. Our young people, they'll work with us for 6 months of the year, and we do fantastic, we have great fun. They get their training for £1 per night, and then they'll put on All Ireland Award winning productions, because we have won All Ireland Awards. So they're doing, and 2 years ago we took on Everybody's Talking About Jamie, which was about the boy in the dress, and we were the first company in Ireland to actually do it, where our young people who were gay actually come in and were able to be gay. You weren't making them play a romantic role against a woman where they were actually a gay young man, and just the freedom that gave the young people that year was just, the girls would say it was an amazing project for all of us, and we had one of the characters had to wear a hijab, so we were able to bring in a young woman from a Muslim community to explain to the girl who was playing the character, why you had to wear it, and she spoke to the young people so eloquently, and saying, well, I'm so jealous that you're actually able to get up and dance because I'm not allowed to do that. And our girls were looking and saying, what do you mean you're not allowed to get up and dance? She said, I'm just not allowed to do that. And you have to make sure the hijab's very particularly placed on your chin. And the difference that made to the young girl who was from here, she was going, I didn't realise I was just putting this on my head. So you're getting wee chances to very quietly, undercurrent, feed messages to them, which is fabulous through the drama group.
But there's a brilliant message there, and it's a message of acceptance and respect, which is just so important to instill and understand of the reasons why. And you're taking away the fear factor there, the fear of the unknown, by bringing in such a diverse range of life into the Bosco.
My father is 83 years of age, and he'll not mind me saying he is a very progressive 83-year-old. But 10 years ago, previously, when the Pride Parade started in Uri, Daddy would have said, oh no, I'll not go. And then a few years later, he went, but I will go because such and such walking in today. So even for that age group, through the youth centre, he was also learning, the fear factor was being taken away, just the fear of the unknown. And now every year he'll go to the Pride Parade because he knows some of our young people that are actually marching in it.
So sometimes it just takes someone to explain the thing to you in terms that you understand, you're connected with, and then you realise there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. It's okay to be different, and people are different, and that's all right, because we're all the same. How boring would that be? Imagine if you were all from Tyrone. We'll not go there because that really was the way it was for a while. But anyway. Do you feel a sense of responsibility with your work?
You feel responsibility for protection. We are incredibly protective of our young people, and especially our boys. And I think through our End Violence, we did get a large funding package from the Council for the End Violence Against Women and Girls project. And Joanne and I were both very passionate that it doesn't become an anti-men. Because we have fabulous young men in our youth centre, and they are fabulous, aren't they?
And we really wanted to support them
absolutely,
rather than alienate them.
And to make it an allyship for them.
Exactly, it's not them and us.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
And when you watch the relationships and we're only going by our own young men, who all have their own difficult upbringings and different backgrounds, they're very protective of our young women, who they've also grown up with. And you just say, these are good guys. And we had a residential last weekend with the start of the project, and we were very adamant that, boys, this isn't an anti-men, because we love yous and we want you to be part of it. We want you to continue to support the females in your lives. And it's been brilliant.
Oh,
it really has been brilliant.
It was, and I think that's the space, Dearbhlá, as well, when we're looking at that broad spectrum of, a title we can put on, End Violence Against Women and Girls, and where are the boys in that conversation, and how do we bring them in? And they were so engaged and so passionate about it, and really helping them then to have the confidence to go out as strong young men into the world and to be
those allies. It was also the safe zone.
Was the safe
they
space.
knew us. You can't do projects like that if you're just dipping in and out, because you can't pick a group. So there's 30 young people in that particular group, and they're all aged 15 to 18. You can't just lift 30 teenagers who you don't know to do a project like that, because you need to know the wee ins and outs of their backgrounds, where there might be a difficult situation even at home, so that we can support that, because the conversations are very difficult and they have to be had to deal with the programme properly. But you also have to be incredibly sensitive to maybe a situation that is already in the background of that.
And also, every child that age now has this device, which is very powerful if used correctly. If used wrongly, my goodness, where you're going down a rabbit hole. And I'd say most people in the room watched or heard about the Netflix series Adolescence last year. The country seemed to watch it. It was very frightening what you saw, how you saw the story unfold. And that is bound to have seeped into the conversation in the Bosco, amongst the age group. Like, what were you hearing back from boys and girls that age?
Those projects, those programmes gave us an opportunity for discussion, because we watched that programme with them, and we watched the catfishing programme that was happening around the Newry area. And what was the project we were doing that night? can't remember what it was, but we actually sat with the young people and watched those programmes, and we were able to have brilliant conversations.
And at the moment before we went to
Where were we going?
we would have done that one night before I went to Krakow about the feminism, isn't it?
Yes, it could have been that, yes. I can't remember now, we do that much.
But they're very vocal themselves.
But they are very vocal, yeah. So it was a great opportunity. So those programmes are fantastic triggers that we can use, even some of the stuff that we were using last weekend in the residential, some of the TED Talks and that.
You know,
Because
it
is what
it's
they're watching.
relatable then, and it's conversations, and then you create a space, because it's all well and good saying don't do this.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work for teenagers.
No,
You have to
work with
have a conversation about the whys and the whats and the wheres and the hows and show it. And so topical series and things.
It works for
really
them. It's
work
very
really
visual.
well.
They work obviously very visually as well. So if they can watch something that's quite shocking, as I said, before we took them to Auschwitz and Krakow, we watched Schindler's List. So just to give that visual to the young people, because they'd done a whole OCA and accreditation programme about anti-racism and that. But then the night before we went, just to put that film on for them to make it very real, worked so well. And then they were able to say, oh God, that happened, and we watched that the other night. Because that's how young people do relate things. I suppose we all relate things like that.
We do, particularly anti-Semitism. You know, it's a conversation that we're having now. We need to understand the difference in that, and Zionism, the difference of what's happening in Palestine. You know, all these things need explained, because again, if you don't explain it properly, the fear factors there and the lack of understanding there, and it's so easy to jump on something in the wrong way if it's not explained. And I just wondered then how. You're doing all this brilliant work and listening to having these conversations with the youngsters. How do you mind yourselves? Because that's not the sort of work that you can. It's not like you're in a coffee shop tomorrow, you're in 9 to 5 and then you clock off and you're done. You're taking that home with you no matter what, because if you're this kind of person, you're invested in these youngsters. Yeah. So how do you mind yourself?
You don't. And that is probably one of the biggest downfalls that I think, working in the town that you also live in and have lived in all your life. You don't really switch off. I suppose I would have used Joanne personally myself, you know, in lots of circumstances in my own private life. And that is where you have to go and look after yourself as much as you can. I am going to get to Italy one of these days. When the Bosco show is not on, I'm
There's
definitely...
a few recruiters here in the room have been before, so have conversations.
Whenever you move the date, I'm definitely going. But yeah, it is one of those downfalls of youth work, because you are very passionate about your young people. And doesn't help whenever your daughter's friendly with most of them and they're all living in your house at the weekends as well. Yeah, that doesn't help.
And we're in a room full of people, and I love this at this moment whenever I ask a question like this, because I don't know anybody, you don't know who's connected to whom. But this is an opportunity to use a platform as well. All the work you're doing, you've described it. I don't think anybody would disagree in the value of the work you're doing. They all recognise just how important it is as well. But we also need to explain just how chronically underfunded this work is, and that it's really difficult to, I'm sure where jobs are concerned, you're wondering, is somebody going to have a job from month to month, not even year to year, because it depends on project to project, whether you get the funding, filling out tenders, having to do all that stuff, the admin in the background, as well as then get the work done, which is all you really want to do, is just do the work. So what would you say to anybody? You know, everybody's going to vote here. Yeah. Everybody has public representatives who want to represent them. What's your message?
Well, it is very difficult. We're obviously voluntary sector. Our colleagues in the statutory sector, their pay is completely different. Their pension schemes are completely different. Like that, they don't know from year, or they do know from year to year whether they have jobs. They've had their back pay. They've had all those things that ourselves, who have the exact same qualifications, we don't get. We actually lost £44,000 a year funding, which was then pumped in. It's a lot of money. So we are down £44,000 annually, which has been pumped into the statutory sector, doing exactly the same jobs of us. And they do fabulous work as well, but they do dip in and out. They're not a constant in the community. So it is one of the battles of the voluntary sector. And unfortunately, 3 years ago was particularly difficult. I've never ever looked for another job. I graduated one day and started my job the next, and I've always loved it. But 3 years ago, I was like, I can't do this. I sat outside my 3-year-old school at that stage, crying to the point where I just thought, how do I actually make this work? And because you were constantly taking it home with you, and I thought, no, you have to just get through this and just do it. Because you love it, and you do love it, and that is one of the, unfortunately, the statutory sector do pull on the vocational work because they know it's in your heart.
Yeah.
And that's,
I think Barney Mikowski said that years ago in her book, that that's just the way it is, because they keep the holes there because they know somebody with a big heart is going to step in and fill that
and
hole.
community work is so different because it is in your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. So Beauty and the Beast, now it's coming up.
Halloween week, yeah.
Is that an opportunity, say, for people to give back, that they could buy tickets
Oh,
and go along
absolutely,
to
yeah.
it?
And a lot of people in the room are big supporters of our drama group as well, you know. And it's great fun, and the young people love it.
So how about we all make sure that Beauty and the Beast is sold out?
Sold out every night.
Maybe, you know, just make a wee donation there, and even if you can't go, you're supporting the Bosco and making sure that things there can happen and good work can continue. It's been brilliant to talk to you. And Joanne made a point earlier on there about how important it is to hear, you know, grassroots stories. How important it is to, you know, we all love to hear all these success stories from people who have excelled, and despite all the odds, they have done this and they've done that, and they've shown resilience. And you're showing resilience every single day you walk through those doors.
But lovely and grey.
But you're not. Well, no, I am. You do embrace it. It's just really refreshing, John. You're absolutely right to showcase the likes of Dearbhlá and the work she's doing.
And we do love, we've worked very well together for years, and we do love our programmes.
Yes.
As wacky as they may be sometimes.
Our biggest COVID challenge, we say about COVID, was we hosted an online mother-daughter retreat day.
All day.
A full day. Sonia did a cookery demonstration. Surya, I think, did some yoga at that point.
She did.
We got afternoon teas delivered from occurrences out to homes across Newry, and we held, so that
We also ran a
stands
period
poverty programme online as well.
My 80-year-old father was delivering period pants. He hadn't a clue
What he was delivering.
He was just going around houses delivering all these parcels. He never ever knew what was in the parcels.
We never had an in-depth conversation.
He was just giving us a list of houses that he had to deliver to.
Thanks, Dearbhlá. There's another star now.
My poor Johnny.
Yes, and Jerry today.
Even the Bosco.
Dearbhlá Monaghan, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.